Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
As I rise, La ilaha illallah. There is no person, deity, or thing worthy of worship save Allah. He is the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. All praise is due to Allah. The highest of honors to his prophet, Prophet Vanguards Ali. I'm going to give honors to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the green five-pointed star in the center, representing the five highest principles known to man, which are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I want to give honors to the forerunner of the Prophet, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Deuce Ali, Brother Ibn al-Il, Elijah Muhammad, etc., etc., etc. I want to give honors to all temples in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I want to give honors to temple number 19, the office of the Grand Governor, with the Sheik staff, the admin staff, the Vanguards, and of course the Sisters Auxiliary, and especially the Ils and Bays. Islam?
Islam.
Islam. All right. I'm not sure how many Moorish Americans we have in this room, or people who consider themselves Moors loosely in any way, shape, or form or fashion. My initial question is this, after listening to the brother's measure, is that do we take Allah for a liar?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
No.
His messengers have delivered a specific message, right? Allah said through his messengers that we are a clean and pure nation, right?
That's right.
If that is the case, then I have a question. Then why do we attempt to infuse this clean and pure nation with a concept called British Israelism? That doesn't even sound right? Why will we attempt to infuse this clean and pure nation with something called Christian identity? Right? Why would we attempt to infuse what we have with something called the Aryan nation? Right?
That's right.
If this thing is pure and clear, right? How is it that we accept those gods and those ideals,
Right.
and try to infuse them into what we have? Because either Allah is telling the truth or you're a liar. He's one or the other.
That's right.
Right? That's just a measure to go along with that. The one thing that we love in the Moorish Science Temple of America is when someone asks a question in an intelligent tone, right? We get a lot of questions in Temple 19, and we have examples of questions which are healthy, which are good questions, and then we have questions and statements which are just a little outrageous, right? Because everyone has an agenda. So, I'll answer the first question. This is a charter, right? The Moorish Science Temple of America gives us our power and our authority to be a temple. Thank you very much. The next question we like. There's a brother named Terry Moore on YouTube. He asked a specific question. He said this: Islam Moors, praise Allah. Honors to the Prophet Vanguards Ali, and honors to you Moors. Keep up the great work. Question: the Prophet's on the Prophet's nationality card it reads, "I do hereby declare that you are a Muslim under the divine laws of the Holy Quran of Mecca." And then he asks, "What are those divine laws? Where can I find those laws in the Holy Quran of Mecca, also in the Quran of Vanguards Ali? Peace." That is a good question.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
It's a question we've answered a few times before, but we'll get into that. The first thing we need to do is establish authority. On the back of the 101 questionnaire, there's a very pointed sentence, and this document is actually called Our Authority. It says, "The Moorish Science Temple of America, deriving its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad, to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America, to appoint and consecrate missionaries of the prophet, and to establish the faith of Muhammad in America." That is our job, right? That is our authority. You see, in our tradition, everything is built off of what came before it, right? What we have definitely comes from the Holy Quran of Mecca, right? We give that power, complete power and authority. The great Quran did the same thing. So if you have questions, who do you go to? You go to the older text, right?
Islam.
Okay. Now, again, it says, I declare that you are a Muslim. So now, we ask ourselves, what is a Muslim or a Muslim? We break down the word into two parts. First is Mun, which is one of, easy. The second word is Salam, or SLM, or Sin Lam Meen, right? It means submission, peace, which we know of. But it also means wholeness and completion as well. Right? So this is one of submission, one of peace, one of wholeness, and one of completion.
Right.
Now, the more pointed question is, who could be considered a Muslim or a Muslim? Now we have to go, for this we have to go into the Holy Quran of Mecca and look at a few surahs and ayahs, right? First is Al-Imran 364. It says, say, O people of the scripture, come to a word that is equitable between you and us, that we will not worship except Allah, and not associate anything with him, and not take one another as lords instead of Allah. But if they turn away, then say, bear witness that we are Muslims. All right, so the first part, right, it's, the first part is, you worship none except Allah, find no partners with him, and you put no one as lords instead of Allah, right?
That's right.
All right. Surah 41, ayah 33 says, and who is better in speech than one who invites to Allah and does righteousness and says, indeed, I am of the Muslims. So now, it's about guard your speech. And when we say guard our speech, what we're talking about is, drawing a circle around our passions, keeping ourselves in check. Islam is a self-check system, right?
That's right.
Surah 22, ayah 78 says, and strive for Allah with the striving due to him. He has chosen you and has not placed upon you in the religion any difficulty. It is the religion of your father Abraham. Allah named you Muslims before in former scriptures. And in this current scripture, that the messenger may be a witness for you and you may be a witness over the people. So establish a prayer, give zakat, and hold fast to Allah. He is your protector, and excellent is the protector, and excellent is the helper. All right? So he's saying you have to be named in former scriptures and in current scriptures, right?
That's right.
Surah 10, ayah 84, it says, and Moses said, O my people, if you have believed in Allah, then rely upon him. So you should be, if you should be Muslims. So you have to believe in Allah and rely upon Allah, right? Surah 5, ayah 111, it says, and remember, I inspired the disciples, believe in me and in my messenger, Jesus, or justice, as we say. They said, we have believed, so bear witness that indeed we are Muslims, or in submission to Allah. So in that, it talks about believing in Allah and following a specific prophet. Right? So in summary, let's break it down. You worship none save Allah, you associate no thing with him, you guard one's actions, you believe and rely upon Allah, you follow the prophet, and you are named in current and previous scriptural texts. All right. How do I want to tackle this next one? All right, so we have all that out of the way. Actually, we'll go back to the name. Actually, let's do that now.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see if we can name some people. In the Holy Bible, let's take the Bible, right?
That's right.
What would you be named?
Moabite.
Moabite?
Canaanite.
Canaanite? Israelite at the point in time, right?
Islam.
All right, so we have presidents, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go to chapter 45 and see if we're named in our writings. I'll start at chapter 45, I'll start at verse 2. It says, the key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. the Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. The Egyptians, who were the Hamathites, and a direct descendant of Mitzrayim, the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese. The Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan. The Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans of North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador and Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims, right? So we know who a Muslim is, and we know who a Muslim is not, because basically he named everybody on the planet except for a specific place, right? Now, let's cut to the chase. There's a question that's asked, which divine laws are applicable in this? We need to know which laws it is, right? Specifically, in Surah 43, Ayat 13, it says, O mankind, indeed we created you from a male and a female, and we made you nations and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you near Allah is the most righteous of you. Indeed, Allah is all knower, all aware. Right? So now we have a setting for nationality. Right. We will split up, or talk about nationality, ethnicity, XYZ, right? And we have that from the divine law given by Allah in the Quran. Easy. Now, let's ask again. Let's ask for another divine law that's applicable. This time, in the right religion or altering that religion, like we talked about before. Surah 30, Ayah 30. This is my favorite verse in the Quran. It says, so set thy face for religion, being upright, the nature made by Allah in which He has made men. There is no altering Allah's creation. That is the right religion, but most people know not.
Islam.
Right? So what he's saying there is that Allah made you the way that you are supposed to be made, and you're not supposed to alter or change that path. Now, I wonder if there's a people that have tried to alter the path or the creation of Allah. Right? So let's go to the Surah 7, chapter 47, verse 9 through 12. It reads, according to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race. Right? Descendants of the ancient ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. Then it says, what your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt a contradiction, which goes back to that previous surah we read. There is no one who is able to change man from the descent nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. Then it says, these holy and divine laws are from the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the founder and the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That is where we get our authority, because we know, when I go back and I read it again, he says, I do by declare you are Muslims. He did not make you Muslim.
That's right.
There was a situation where we tore ourselves away and straight after gods that we knew not of. We tore ourselves away, or attempted to. So this is basically just putting people back in real alignment. That's what this thing is.
That's right.
He does not, the Prophet did not make you a Muslim. He did not create him. It's created by Allah. All right? So let's get into that. The breaking of the law and remedy for said law. Because now we have the law from our nationality card. We know what that is. We know where we got our laws from. Now, chapter 47, verse 16, 17, it says, through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their forefathers. It's just that easy. That's right. Everything that we do, everything that we are, has to go back to our forefathers. And in symbolism, it is that right there. We forgot all about that. It became a thing that we don't even know if it's us anymore. This represents those lost fuzzy years when you think about your history, that you don't really know what happened, and there's slavery, there's things happening, families broken up. That is the thing that binds us back. That's right. Think of it like this. Let's assume that time is linear, which is not obviously, but let's assume it is, right? Let's say, how long has man been on the planet? Give me a number. Give me just whatever loose number that pops in your head. Millions, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, slavery took up about that much of our entire history. So you're willing to give up all of this for that dot. It is very important that we understand who we are and our place in the world.
That's right.
You know, when it talks about nationality being that quality of character that arises from the fact of a person belonging to a nation or state, when you ask yourself, what is that quality of character? And it goes back to Europeans who don't even like the law that we're living in this nation. They were the ones that lost. Remember, the ones that follow those ideals are the same ones that lost the war before. When they tore themselves and we had to create the 14th and 15th Amendment. This is their problem. So why would we inject ourselves into their problem? Who does that?
Right.
Right?
That's right.
All right. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America, who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they know nothing. Who are the gods of Europe? When we talk about the gods of Europe, who's the big boogeyman? Who's the god of Europe, big boogeyman? What's the easy one? Somebody, what would you say? Zeus? More Christianity, as given to us by Roman Catholicism, XYZ. Right? These are some of the gods of Europe. Zeus is definitely a part of that. You know, those things, their ideals. Remember, because man's God is his ideals, right?
It's not accidental thinking, man. That way of being, not in tune with nature, money, the lower self, indulging in excess of that. Just
excess.
You know, that Roman thing, and when Rome was
exactly. They have a lot of things that they do, right?
Yeah.
You know, excess is a part of their thing. Excess is not a part of our things. We just talked earlier about moderation. Thank you very much. Everything has to be about moderation. Holy Quran, chapter 48, verse 6 to 11, very end. It reads, "We as a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate nor marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth." And we're willing to give that up for their version of Jesus. Right? We're willing to give it up for their world. Right? Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations, as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation. Right? While we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. Now, if you notice, there's a certain people who don't have a divine salvation.
All right.
Do we want that? Right? The covenant of the great God Allah, and he said this 50 times already. "Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee." Easy. Hard at the same time, but easy. "Come all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourselves with the families of nations. We honor all the true and divine prophets." This movement ain't that hard, but we want to make it very, very difficult. I honor the brother or sister, I don't know, for asking that question, because it is important that if we're going to join something, we need to know about it. And the only way you know about it is you ask the harder questions. I mean, the other brother could have asked, you know, are you a lawfully chartered temple? I'd have been like, oh yeah, they was this, that, blah, blah, we'd have broke it down. But when you say, you know, they cool and everything, but they're not. You know, it looks to destroy everything that we're trying to build. Because we're not here to lie to anybody.
That's right.
Exactly. Tell them. Exactly. So, as I close out, are there any questions? Any vibrations? Easy. I'll leave y'all as I came in peace. Islam? All right.